Hi everybody, today we're going to be going over some chopping methods just to teach you how to chop a little bit quicker, a little bit faster. A lot of people see the Iron Chefs on TV now just going at it, or even just regular chefs really chopping it up quick. So I'm just going to teach you a couple of techniques that are pretty tried and true just to teach you how to use that knife a little bit better. Okay? So first of all, today I got two knives here. One is a lighter, longer chef's knife. This is a 10-inch chef's knife. It's pretty light. I'm not exactly sure on the ounces. It is a Mercer brand, so I'll put that up there. I don't know if you can see it. Okay, it's a really nice knife. It's pretty thick. It's got a good thickness, but again, it's very light. You can chop pretty quick with it. I don't actually prefer the longer knives. As you see here, I got a 7 3/4 inch chef's knife, and this is a Henkel's brand. I really do stand by my Henkel's. I really do love these knives. So if you have a knife store near you, somewhere that sells cutlery knives, I suggest checking them out. Maybe you can use them wherever you go. I know there's a couple of places like Table or however you pronounce it that will let you try them out. They have carrots there usually, so you know, whatever knife you prefer. It really is an opinion or a personal matter of what kind of knives you like to use. Again, so I really like the 7 3/4 inch knife, even though I got a pretty big hand. It's a little bit heavier and it's a little bit smaller. It's easier to control, and that's just what I prefer using. Okay, so let's go ahead and get this bad boy out of here. Alrighty, so we will be starting off first with some celery. Celery is probably one of the easier things to teach you how to start chopping. Later on in the series, you might see me chopping up other things, and I'll go ahead and explain then and there what I'm doing. So for now, just bear with me. Okay. So first thing we'll do is clean up the celery without the knife. We don't really need the knife first. And as you see here, I'm keeping it on the board facing me. That's just a safety precaution. I don't want anybody coming up and getting hurt. I don't want it sliding off the table and whacking someone else. If I'm going to get cut, it's going to be my fault. Okay, and that's pretty good too if you have kids in the house. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is just pull off these leafy parts, maybe some strands that fall off, and that's just basic cleaning procedure for vegetables. Toss that in my trash can on the side. Okay, and what I'm left with is a pretty uneven stalk. You can see there we got a long piece on the top, it's pretty thin, and the rest of it kind of fattens out. So what I like to do with celery is, I don't like to use this white part, so I'll go ahead and grab my knife here, just like so. Just give it a quick chop, right? And I like to have this part right here. This is the part I really need. And we'll go ahead and switch up camera angles so you can go ahead and see exactly what I'm going to do is grab this piece of celery and kind of straighten it out. I'm going to grab my knife, and the position I'm going to hold it in, it's pretty sturdy. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my index finger right there along the side of the ridge without touching the blade on the bottom there. See there? Okay. Now I'm going to get my thumb and just pinch it. Okay. Nowhere is my fingers touching the blade at any point in time. I'm holding this metal up here. I'm not touching this sharp piece of blade on the bottom. I don't want to get cut, and I don't want you guys to see me get cut. Now what I'm going to do is tilt it so that the tip is on the blade. This is probably about a 45-degree angle. It really doesn't matter what angle you take as long as you take the right angle. Okay, wherever feels comfortable for you. What I'm going to do is turn the celery facing you, and I'm just going to go ahead and find that spot where it gets a little thin, match it with my piece of celery, and just go ahead and drag it down. Okay, drag it down. Booyah. Awesome. Okay, so now we got a piece that's a little bit more uniform. It is a little bit out of uniform, but I don't want to make this piece too much wider than this piece. See, that's pretty even there. So what I'm going to do now is go ahead and trim off this excess piece. So I'm going to flip this over and just slide my blade. Same kind of position you were holding it before. Just pinch the blade like so and just slide it on through. Just stay even and that'll be perfect. Okay, so what I got here is probably two pretty uniform pieces of celery that I'm going to put in soup or stock or rice or whatever. And then I got this little tiny piece right here. Usually I'll discard this. If you're in a restaurant, you might want to keep it. It's not going to make that big of a difference. It's not going to add that much flavor. So I'm just going to toss that aside. Now, what I'm going to do is set this piece aside and probably cut this in half. So, there we go. Simple. Again, holding the blade in that pinched position. I don't like to hold it like this. It just seems clumsy. It seems like a caveman style of holding it. Even when you pinch this fat piece, it doesn't feel comfortable. Most blades, the handle does get wider right at the beginning. It doesn't have this little pinch surface. So this is the spot where you hold it. Okay? So what I'm going to do now is I got 3 pieces of celery. I'm just going to go ahead and start cutting this piece. Now what I want to do is hold the celery down so it doesn't just flop around everywhere. But I don't want to cut my fingers. So what I'm going to do is place my fingers like this on the board so you guys can see. And I want this edge of the fingers in a little angle. Alright? I want that at an angle. I don't want to get cut. I want it at an angle. And I'm going to do that with the celery. I'm going to pinch it between these 2 fingers, like so. And I'm going to press my blade to my knuckles. Now you see, as long as I stay against my knuckles with the blade, I'm not going to cut myself. If you stick your fingers out, you're going to cut yourself. Another thing too, keep your thumb tucked. Okay? Keep your thumb behind this finger at all times. If you hold your thumb out, that's just going to cut right off. And believe me, I've done it before. It does not feel good. Okay? So what I'm going to do now is make my initial cut. And all I'm doing is pushing the piece of celery with my thumb and my other fingers down in a smooth motion, maybe a little jerky now and then. That's okay. I'm keeping my fingers at that right angle so I don't cut myself. Okay? What I got here, aside from that piece, is some pretty uniform pieces of celery. Okay? I mean, they're all about the right size. And what that's going to do is whatever I put those in, you're not going to have huge chunks of celery and tiny chunks of celery. It's all going to be pretty much the same. They're all about the same weight, same portion. So that'll be able to make it a little bit easier to cut. So what we're going to do now is a quicker chop. What it is it's pretty much like the last thing we did. It's just a little bit quicker, and usually this yields smaller slices or portions. Usually you don't do this when you're doing big giant chunks of food. So you'll see what I mean when we start. So for now, let's start. Again, I'm going to grab my celery, hold it down the same way we did before. Just pinch it between those 2 fingers, thumb behind your finger back here. And again, we're going to feed it. But this time it's going to go a little bit faster. So like we did before, we're going to pinch our blade to where it feels comfortable. Now you see back here I have my other 3 fingers on the blade on the bottom. And what I like to do is I almost float it, or sometimes bounce it. Or I pull the blade towards my hand or my palm. Okay, you see that from this side? Okay, so what that does is it makes the blade fall. And that's why I like a heavier blade. This has a heavier handle right here than the blade. So what it does is it allows the blade to fall faster and the handle to rise up quick. So what I'm going to do is chop. So we put our fingers there like we did before, and all we're going to do is raise up and just barely pull on the back of that blade. That's how I do it. Some will just tell you to go straight up and down, but I like to just give it a little extra chop. I think it makes me go faster. So we're just going to start just like that. Okay, see from this angle. What I'm doing here is making sure that the flat of the blade, let's get that out of the way, is hitting that cutting board. If I chop up here, I might get pieces that stick together. I'll show you. Okay, that wasn't good. I'm not sticking together. It's not working. There we go. You see that? We got a piece that's cut, but it's still connected because the blade wasn't all the way touching down to the cutting board there. See that? It was perfectly cut down to almost the bottom, but it didn't quite make it. Now if we do that enough, we won't get enough pieces at all. Okay, so I'm going to take that piece out of there, and again I'm going to show you. It's just making sure the blade is right there, it's flat against the board, and now we're just chopping. And you just go straight up and down to get the desired cuts. Now again, these are a little bit smaller than the last, thinner slices. So what we want to do is just get that nice and even and uniform. Okay, we'll do it again. Okay, this time I'm not going to chop the celery exactly the same way we did before. This time I'm just going to slide it down the middle just to get 2 separate pieces. Okay, and I'm going to show you again. It's just pinching the blade, making that angle with the finger, and just okay. Those look like they're stuck together, but they're not. Okay, so there's some more celery. Fun, right? And then once you get better, you can really go for it. Okay, but that'll take time. Okay.
Okay, guys, I hope you enjoyed it, and see you next time.